entirely made of mud. What's the life process, the whole process that's going on inside of those? Why do they build them?
They have larvae inside.
Cool.
And they paralyze spiders.
And they paralyze spiders. Yep. And so this is similar to what we were just talking about with tarantula hawks, except it's the wasp version, or the smaller mud dauber version. And then some different species like use caterpillars and whatever. Kind of neat. And then, what is this sign then? All these little tiny scrapes on the ground. That is mud dauber mud collection. Okay. Oh yeah, there's some over there.
If you wrote wasp, is that close enough? Okay.
That's fine. What's really cool about this is that very typical sign for swallows and robins, any birds that are using mud in their nest building during that time of year, you will see their sign. And it often, this is a big version of it. It would actually look like this if we did it to scale. Depending, I mean, swallows and stuff can be thinner, but it looks like this. Okay? So, a very typical sign on evals all across North America where they're building nests, and very, sometimes you can see the tracks associated with the little swallows. It's cool because their feet are so tiny and they're very lightweight and they're fluttering around while they're collecting nests, but you will see teeny tiny little tracks sometimes, which is cool. And so their beaks are doing this and they're collecting mouthfuls. Something like a cliff swallow is making up to 2,000 trips. Just fun stuff about that. Everyone know the mud igloos of cliff swallows. We've been doing some looking into them a little bit, but what's cool about them is that I just like thinking about that kind of thing because they'll make up, 1,500 to 2,000 trips collecting each little mouthful, and then you can see each little mouthful. It's those little blobs on there, right? But what's neat too is in different landscapes, sometimes like out in the deserts, in canyon lands or whatever, you get these very dynamic mud systems on the landscape. So you might have rivers that are pretty consistent, but there might be spots where they're collecting mud one day and spots they're collecting mud another day, and the mud colors will change. And you can see these strata, yellow muds, red muds, and it's just super cool to see how they're building. The other neat thing is that when they're building those nests, they do this thing, and a lot of birds actually do this when they're fitting stuff into nests, but in the particular case of mud, they vibrate their heads as they're placing mud in this little kind of tremble, and it's just like when you're patting sand and the water shakes up, and that way, and it gets a more consistent masonry. And then there's all this knowledge that they have, especially skilled nest builders, about when to let it sit and kind of cure a little bit, because if they build too much, the walls will fall or get weak. If they let it dry out too much, there's all these different things that I don't know about. But it's pretty neat to think about a swallow who's this fantastic aerialist and knows so much about insects, and they're just badass flyers. But they're also incredible masons that know so much about mud on the landscape, which is pretty damn neat to think about. So anyway, side note.